Your heart starts racing, you get like full body sweats over your entire body. It almost feels like the walls are closing in, you have no idea what's going on. And I sort of like drove my face into my hands and said, I have no idea what was going on. When I was 28, I was having stomach problems. Like I'd wake up and be nauseous. A guy who worked at the company I used to be with said, gut health can kind of be related to stress and anxiety. I went to my family doctor for probably the 5th time. And as soon as I went into the office and looked her in the face and said, oh, I think it could be anxiety related, this is when what I now know was my first panic attack. That lasted for what felt like hours, obviously. It probably was 3 to 5 minutes. I told my family sort of what happened. They've been supportive of me forever. And then the only experience I have of my dad mentioning something is I was in the kitchen at my parents' house, and my dad said something on the lines of, I bet you didn't know your dad was on antidepressants his whole life, like for most of his life. For me growing up, I had a very good childhood. My dad always worked full-time. He was a civil servant who worked for the government, and my mom for the first probably 15 years of my life. She actually was a stay-at-home mom, and she also volunteered at the school I went to. My dad was very outgoing, wasn't afraid to talk to anyone. He was super into motorcycles. Like ever since I was almost born, he's always had a motorcycle or sometimes 2. At the dismay of my mom, he'd have a second one. He sort of gracefully went into retirement and then realized that I can't sit around all day. When my father passed away about 2 years ago, I knew that he was always resistant to see doctors for any health issues, and he went through mental health stuff that he didn't even talk to me about. A good friend of mine called me. He told me that his own father took his own life. So I was like, okay, like enough's enough. I need to do something. I get a lot of sense of comfort being in my own home, and my dad was the same way. So we never really did overnight family trips because he always liked to be home. So that's where the Home by 9 came from, as sort of a tribute to my dad and his loving of being home by 9. It's also as a way to sort of help the partners of these men, because they're going through this just as much as they are. It's hard to know how to support that person. So I decided to start by just selling branded t-shirts. I was at like a Shopify market, and a woman by the name of Kelly has a company called Pretty by Her. And she was nice enough to partner with me, and we gave away a bunch of stuff. And we also said for every new follower that we get, we're gonna donate $1 to the CMHA. So then we launched the giveaway, and within the first couple of minutes, it's like 50 new followers. In a couple hours, it's like 300 new followers. At the end of it, I think I gained like 1,300 followers in like 3 days. And someone's like, oh, you're gonna have to donate $1,300 to the CMHA. I'm like, yeah. The CMHA is great because they provide tons of services at no charge to people within the community. Sort of my goal is to donate $1 million to mental health initiatives in Canada. Where the $1 million comes from is, it sounds great to say $1 from every shirt. If someone has a sense of, I'm contributing towards this $1 million goal, it's more powerful than someone saying, oh, I bought a shirt and I donated $1. It's cool to see how much more open people are. There's a comfort level that didn't exist with the older generation, where I think they probably didn't want to seem vulnerable either to their peers, to their partners, to their kids. Now there's definitely still like quite the stigma around mental health. I get messages from people and comments from friends saying that like it's courageous for me to share my story. Yes, I'm comfortable with sharing it, but also I'm doing it not only to help other people, but it helps me too. What I want to do is use my comfort and my story to not only help people by just talking about it and sharing and letting people know that their situation isn't unique. I want to be able to take proceeds from every shirt that I sell and donate it to mental health initiatives in Canada.